Hi and welcome to our new YouTube tutorial. In this video we're going to be creating a little project where I'm going to show you how to switch between the light and dark mode. The project will be built based on HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Let's go ahead and describe the project. I'm going to create a card with a Mastercard design, and also we'll have a little button with a font awesome icon. By default the theme is set to light, and if I click the button then it will switch to the dark mode and also the icon will change. Alright, so that's all about the project. Let's get started. I've created a new folder on the desktop called dark mode, in which I have another folder for the image. Let's go ahead and open this folder in VS Code and create our working files. I mean index.html, style.css and script.js. Then open the index.html file and create a basic HTML document. For that I'm going to use emmet. Let's insert here an exclamation mark and then hit tab or enter. Okay, so here we have the basic HTML tags. First of all, I'm going to change the title. Let's insert here dark mode. And then I'm going to link the CSS and JavaScript files. Let's open link tag and then specify here the name of the file. As for the JavaScript file, I'm going to open script tag and then I'm going to specify the name of the JavaScript file. Okay, besides that I'm going to bring in other links as well. I mean, we're going to use some font awesome icons, and also we'll use one of the Google fonts. Let's go ahead and search for font awesome CDN.js. Then go to the first link. Next, I'm going to copy the link from here. Then open a link tag in the head element and paste the URL in the href attribute. Alright, that's it about the font awesome CDN link. Now I'm going to visit the Google Fonts website. Let's search for Google Fonts. So here is the Google Fonts website. I'm going to use the font called Quick Send. Let's select all the styles here. Then grab the link and paste it in the head element. Okay, so all the links are prepared, and now I'm going to run the project to the browser using a live server package. Let's place the editor and the browser side by side, like so, and get started. Alright, so I'm going to start with the HTML markup. Let's open a div tag with the class container. Next, I'm going to create a toggle button, which is going to be placed at the top right corner of the page. Let's use class toggle. Inside that element, we will have a font awesome icon. Let's open I element with the classes FAR, FA Sun. After that, I'm going to create the card itself. So the card will consist of three main parts. We will have the image, I mean the map, and two sides of the card, left and right. Let's insert here image element with the class card map. And then specify here the URL. We have folder called images, and then we need to select map.png. Next, I'm going to take care of the left side. Let's open div tag with the class card left. So on the left side we will have three different elements. The first one is going to be heading element, H3. It's going to be card type, Mastercard. Then we will have the image of the card chip. Let's select chip.png from the images folder. The third element is going to be a div which will include the card info, I mean the number, expiration date and the card holder name. So let's open div tag with the class card num and put here some numbers. Then open another div tag with the class card text. The text is going to be valid through. Then we need card date. Let's put here some date, let's say 08/26. And finally, we need card holder, John Smith. Alright, so that's it regarding the left side. Let's move on and take care of the right side. On the right side, we will have just the Mastercard logo. Let's open div tag with the class card right. It will include two different divs. The first one is going to be red circle. As for the second one, it's going to be orange circle. Okay, so that's it about the HTML markup. Let's move on and start to write some CSS. First of all, let's create some reset and default styles. I'm going to select every element using an asterisk. First of all, I'm going to get rid of default margin and padding. Let's set both of them to 0. Then I'm going to set box sizing to border box. And lastly, let's set the font family to Quicksand sans serif. Actually, before we move on, I'm going to make the images smaller because right now they are too large and look really awful. Let's select card map and set its width to 35 rem. And then I'm going to select card chip. Let's set its width to 6 rem. Okay, so now we have a much better result. Throughout this project, I'm going to use rem as the measurement unit. By default, 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels because the font size of the HTML element equals 16 pixels. I want to convert 1 rem into 10 pixels, and for that, we need to decrease the font size of the HTML element. We need to set it to 62.5%. So, as you can see, the elements are now smaller. Let's move on and take care of the container. I'm going to define its width and height. Let's set width to 100%. As for the height, I'm going to set it to 100% of the viewport. After that, I'm going to work on the toggle button. As you know, it should be placed at the top right corner. So let's select the div element. I'm going to define its width and height. Let's set both of them to 6 rem. Then I'm going to change the background color. Let's use here EEE8E1. Next, I'm going to define the position. Let's set it to absolute. As I said, I'm going to place the icon at the top right corner. So let's define top property, make it 7 rem, and then use right property with the same value. Alright, next I'm going to place the icon in the center of the box. For that, I'm going to use grid. Let's set display to grid and then use place items center. So as you can see, the icon is placed in the center of the box. Next, I'm going to make the box rounded. For that, let's use border radius with the value 50% and also change the cursor, make it pointer. Alright, so now I'm going to customize the icon itself. Let's select toggle I. I'm going to increase the font size, make it 4 rem, and then change the color, make it 777. Okay, so that's it regarding the toggle button. Now it's time to take care of the card. Before we customize the card, at first I'm going to place it in the center of the page. So let's use again display grid and then place items center. So as you can see, the card is placed in the center. Let's go ahead and start to customize it. First of all, I'm going to define width and height. Let's set width to 48 rem. Then I'm going to set height to 25 rem. Also, let's use here some temporary background color. Let's say CCC. And also make the card slightly rounded using border radius with value 2 rem. Alright, so that's it about the card for now. Next, I'm going to customize the image of the map. First of all, let's take care of its position. Let's set position to absolute. I'm going to position it according to the card, so we need position relative for the card. So I'm going to place the image a little bit down from the edge of the card and also in the center, I mean horizontally. So let's define top property, make it 1 rem. Then we need left property with value 50%. And in order to center the element perfectly, we need transform, translate X with the value minus 50%. Okay, so the image is placed correctly. Finally, I'm going to decrease the opacity of the image slightly. Let's set it to 0.7. Alright, so the image is customized. Next, I'm going to take care of the left and right parts of the card. I'm going to place them side by side. So for that, let's use Flexbox. I'm going to set display to flex. Right now, nothing has happened here because the right side is not visible yet. We have just the empty div elements. So let's move on and start to work on the left side. Let's select card left. I'm going to define width and height. Let's set width to 70%. As for the height, I'm going to make it 100%. And also create little padding. I'm going to set it to 1 rem at the top, 0 on the right side, 1 rem at the bottom, and 3 rem on the left side. Alright, next I'm going to align the elements using Flexbox. Let's set display to flex. Then I'm going to change the direction, make it column, and also create some space between the elements using justify content space around. And finally, change the color, make it 777. Actually, I'm going to get rid of the temporary background color from the card and add the shadow to it because the content is no longer visible here quite well. So let's use box shadow with the values 1 rem, 1 rem, 3 rem, and then the RGBA value. I mean the black color with the opacity 0.4. So now we have here a much better result. Actually, let's decrease the opacity of the map. Let's make it 0.2. Alright, let's move on and customize the elements on the left side of the card. Let's start with the heading. Let's select card type, set its font size to 2.5 rem, and then increase spacing between the letters. Let's set it to 0.1 rem. Actually, it's hard to notice here, but the image of the map is placed on top of the heading. If we increase the opacity, then you will see it clearly. So we need to fix that. And for that, I'm going to use the index property with some higher value than 0, let's say 10. So now as you can see, the problem is fixed. Alright, that's it about the heading. Next comes the image of the card chip, but we don't need to touch it. So let's move on and take care of the card number. Select this element. Define font size, make it 2 rem. Then make the font bolder. And also use letter spacing with the value 0.1 rem. Okay, let's move on and customize the text below the number. Let's select this element and change the font size, make it 1.1 rem. Next we have the expiration date. So let's select this element, change the font size, make it 1.6 rem, and also increase the font weight, make it 600. And finally, let's style the name of the card holder. I'm going to change the font size, make it 1.5 rem, and change the font weight, make it 600. Alright, so that's it about the left side. Now it's time to take care of the right side. On the right side we will have the Mastercard logo, which consists of 2 different colored circles. Right now they are not visible because we just have the empty div elements. So first of all, I'm going to make the circles visible. Let's select both elements, I mean red circle and orange circle. Let's set width and height, both of them, to 6 rem. Then change the background color. Let's use here some temporary color, let's say red. And also make the elements rounded using border radius with value 50%. Okay, so now as you can see, the circles are visible. I'm going to place them side by side, and also they should be placed down below at the bottom of the card. So let's select card right. Let's use display flex. Then in order to place them at the bottom, we need align items, flex end. And also create some space using padding. Let's set it to 0 at the top, 0 on the right side, 2 rem at the bottom, and 2 rem on the left side. Actually, here we have the same problem that we had with the heading. If I increase the opacity of the map, then it will cover the circles. So we need to use again the z-index property. Let's set it to 10. Alright, let's give the circles their proper colors. I'm going to select them separately. Let's start with the red circle. Its background color is going to be EB001B. As for the orange circle, let's set its background color to FF5F00. Besides that, I'm going to move the orange circle a little bit to the left side. So I'm going to set margin left to -2 rem. And then I'm going to decrease the opacity slightly. Let's set it to 0.7. And also get rid of the temporary red color from here. Alright, so finally we're done with the styling. Now we have to make the dark mode work. For that I'm going to use a little bit of JavaScript. Let's go to the script.js file. Actually, I noticed here that the name of the file is not correct. We need here script.js. Let's change it. First of all, I'm going to select 2 elements, the container and the toggle button. Let's create new variable, call it container, and select the container using query selector method. Let's specify here the class name container. In the same way, I'm going to select toggle button. Let's duplicate this line of code and change the name of the variable. It's going to be toggle, and also change the class name toggle. Alright, so let me explain what we are going to do here. Once we click the toggle button, I'm going to add the class dark to the container, I mean an additional class. Then in the CSS file, we'll define the dark styles for the elements using that newly added class. So we need to add event listener to the toggle button with the click event. Let's insert here an arrow function. Then we need container followed by the property class list, which gives us all the classes that the element has. And then we need toggle method with the class dark. We used here a toggle method because we need to switch between the light and dark modes. The toggle method allows us to add a class to the element if it doesn't have it, and remove the class if it does have it. Now, in order to make it clear, I'm going to inspect the page and show you what happens on click. If you take a look at the Elements tab and then click the toggle button, you will see that the class dark is added to the container on click, and then it is removed on the next click. Alright, that's it about JavaScript for now. Let's go back to the CSS file. So we need to use the class dark and change the colors. Let's select container with the class dark and define background color. I'm going to use 262626. So if I click the icon, then the background of the container will change into dark. On the next click, we will get back the light background. So that's the way how we can switch between the light and dark themes. Let's move on and change the colors for the other elements. Let's select again container dark with card. Change its background color. Let's use here 35, 35, 35. Next we have card left. I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to C. So actually we're almost done. We just need to change the icons of the toggle button and also the colors. Let's start with the colors. Select container dark with toggle and change the background color. Let's use here 46, 46, 46. Then select again container dark with toggle I and change the color. Make it D. Alright, so the colors are changing, and lastly we have to change the icons. For that I'm going to use the conditional statement. So if this condition here is true, I mean if we have the dark mode, then we need to change the font awesome icon. So let's place here ternary operator. Then we need toggle button. As you know, the icon is the child element of the toggle, so we need to get access it. I'm going to use one of the properties called first element child, and then we need to change the class name. We need FA moon. And if the condition is false, I mean if we have the light theme, then we have to have here the default icon. So let's copy this code and change the class name. We need FA sun. So now, as you can see, everything works perfectly, and actually with the project we are done. I hope it was interesting and useful. If you like this video, then please thumbs up, comment below, share it, subscribe to our channel and click the bell to get notified on coming videos. See you next time.